Hello my friends, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which is going to be a video, I'm so excited, on the pricetag eyeshadow palette, the Major Dimension eyeshadow palette. This was a doozy as far as price tag, and we've got a lot to talk about on what's on the inside. I'm also going to compare it to the Too Faced Teddy Bear palette because this was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the promo pics for this, just because of the little square pans and, you know, both being neutral palettes, that kind of thing. So we're going to talk about that in case you already have this one. Do you really even need to look into this one? So if you're interested in any of that swatches, demo, comparison, then just keep on watching. Let's jump right into this palette right here. Let's jump into the description. So I'm not going to read you the Sephora description. I'm just going to read to you what's on the back of the box. And let's start off with the price tag. This was $68. That is $3 more than a Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette, which blows my mind a little bit because Natasha Denona being luxury, I get it, pricetag is a makeup artist, but I didn't think he was on the luxury side, but there is a lot that I think plays into that price tag, but it is still a very hard pill to swallow. So this is the box. It looks exactly like all of his other products as far as like the blushes, the newest contour. It is that gold type of packaging. We'll go through that here in a second. And it is a, let's see, it's a luminous creams, iridescent metallics, glistening pearls, and velvet mattes in a single versatile palette. Wear alone or layer, blend and contour to create the most multi-dimensional looks that go from day to night. And so it says, using a brush, apply eyeshadows and blend as desired. Each shade can be worn alone or layered together for optimal depth and dimension. We're going to talk about that because there's a couple of cream shades, which I know I was kind of surprised that there'd be cream in there, but then again, knowing that he's a makeup artist, that makes sense. So for reference, this has a 12-month shelf life and it is made in the USA. I find that a lot of palettes now either have an 18 or 24-month shelf life. So I feel like at this point, 12 months is kind of low, especially for a palette that has such a high price tag. You want it to be able to last as long as possible. So that's what we've got going on there. The box, again, looks exactly like his face products. Very pretty. I like it. Same thing with the liner. Let's go into that. So it is, it doesn't even have a description, but basically the Sephora website had said that this was it's a pencil liner, but it almost has the characteristics of a liquid liner. It's supposed to be really bulletproof, locked and loaded kind of thing, last all day. That I don't know yet because today is the first time that I used it, and I don't know, I feel like I had a little bit of trouble, but we'll see. So basically, this is a retractable liner, twist up and use. That's basically the extent of what's on the box. And then as far as details, this one is also made in the USA and has a 12-month shelf life. So let's go into the palette itself. This is going to be very reflective, so it's going to be hard to really show you, but exactly like his face products, like I mentioned, only in a longer form because you've got this as an eyeshadow palette. I love that he kept it the same because I really love the packaging to his other products. Like for me, it is very classy looking. I like the rose gold. I just think it's nice. It's very eye-catching. And then on the back, you have got the layout and the shade names. We'll tell you, you're probably already used to this if you own his face products. It is a fingerprint magnet. Mine is very, very dirty at this point. On the inside, it is a full-size mirror on the cover, and then you have 10 as the little door opens, I have like a lint on my lip. You've got 10 eyeshadow shades and then the 2 creams right here, except my little door won't stay closed. And then again, he has the little door so that the powder doesn't all get in there, which is nice detail. You would expect something like that in a $68 palette. This is a mix of like mattes, metallics, and what I would consider sequin shades from the Tati palette. There are a couple of those in here. So there's a lot to talk about. I know this was a very hefty price tag and it caught a lot of people off guard, me included, but I also think that there are some characteristics that play into that. So we'll go into that here shortly. I want to give you swatches. I want to put this on, and then that way we can talk final thoughts towards the end. So let me grab those swatches and I will be right back. So the top row, excluding the cream shadow for now, is exquisite, legendary, lavish, opulence, and abundance. So obviously very neutral, and they pack a punch, but they also have a softness to them. Again, in what I imagine would be a makeup artistry type of way. So that's the first row. Let me grab the second row and I'll be right back. Again, just the powders. We've got Scandal, Mother, Absolutely, Transition, and Divine. That is a mighty powerful swatch right there. For the two creams, we have Lady and Woman. I feel like the formula of the creams really reminds me of the cream in his latest like Contour Sculpt bronze palette. That little duo very much reminds me of that. But those are the two creams right there, meant to be either layered, you can use it as a base and just add your powder over top, or you could just wear it as a standalone shade. We'll talk more about the formula here in a little bit, but very pigmented. So now that we've gone through the swatches and you kind of have an idea of what they look like, let's go ahead and put this on the eyes together, and that way you can see kind of real time how they work, at least on me, so you have an idea, and then we will be back for final thoughts. Starting off with the shade Transition and a small Morphe smudger brush. There is some kick up in the pan, so if that is a deal breaker for you, I just want you to be aware. Not a deal breaker for me in any stretch of the imagination, but just placing this down in the crease. I'm only going to go in with one layer, which is very unlike me, but these are actually quite pigmented, and are actually more pigmented than what you would assume from what you see in the pan. They even go on just a little bit deeper than what you see in the pan as well. Next up, going in with the shade Absolutely, and then a Morphe little, I don't know what to call this, a little detailer brush, I suppose. It's a very tiny blending brush, and I'm using this in the very most inner portion of my lid. I don't even know how much lid space to tell you, but a third perhaps. Really just because I'm going for a gradient effect, I'm looking to kind of warm up the lid. I don't do this too often. Sometimes I wonder if it really does anything, but it allows me to use more of the shades for y'all, that's for sure. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Scandal using a Sonia Kashuk blending brush. This is going to go on the outermost portion of my lid. This is one of the deepest shades in the palette. There's two what I would consider to be the deepest, and this is one of those two. It's the more chocolate brown, and this is really doing an amazing job of practically blending itself. I'm not having any patchiness, nothing looking streaky. It is just placing it. It's being placed where I need it, just blending effortlessly. These are the kind of eyeshadows that dreams are made of, I'm telling you. Going back in with that same shade, I'm going to place this again on kind of a little stumpier brush. This is like a smudge brush, and I think it's a Jaclyn Hill by Morphe. Just lining my lower lash line. Again, not really going for a smoky look, but at the same time, I am looking for just a little bit of drama. Kind of just going to my outer lid as well, just to kind of connect it, making sure it looks seamless. Now going in with the shade Divine, and that same little detailer brush as before, I wiped it clean. Just going to place this on my inner corner as well as my brow bone. Without using the metallic chunky shade in the palette, this is really the only other option, which is okay. I don't 100% of the time go with like brow bone highlight and all that, so it's not a deal breaker for me, and I can just as easily supplement from another palette, but this one really did a great job of just looking smooth, added a little bit of brightness, it just looked good. Going in with my Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer, just placing this on the lid where I am going to go in with my metallic shade. Now, with my finger, I'm going in with the shade Legendary. These I've heard are kind of topper shades. You know my feelings about topper shades. They can be very hit or miss for me. I actually very much enjoyed this one. I love the shades in this or the formula in this palette because they can work on their own. I'm not forced to layer them over something else. These have an opacity that just work on their own, and for me that is key. So definitely love the look. They're very metallic, very sparkly. They just work for me. Going back in with that same Sonia Kashuk blending brush, no added product, and just blending it all together. And now going in, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding the shade names because I have to go to the back of the palette, but going in with the shade Absolutely, this is that same one from before, and just kind of placing down what got lost in translation when I put that metallic shade down. Going in with the pencil, this is in deep bronze. I totally forgot to give you final thoughts on this, you guys, so my apologies, but it took a couple of uses to really get onto my waterline. Not gonna lie, I was already starting to get disappointed, but after that, you guys, now it melts into my waterline and it lasts 4 hours. So if you have trouble with eyeliner staying in your waterline, I highly suggest that you look into these. This was amazing. This is the final look, you guys. I am here for it. I'm loving it, and I hope it inspired you as well. I hope you found that demo helpful. I hope it was in some way, shape, or form either beneficial or just it provided inspiration for you to pull out another neutral palette and do a look of your own. So let's go ahead and go into final thoughts on these bad boys. So first, let's start with the palette because I know that's the thing everybody's looking for. I think the eyeliners are going to take a back seat, but the packaging, I already said I love it. I think it's awesome. I think for the price tag, he kind of needed to do something like this. It makes it a little bit heftier. It makes it feel a little bit more luxe, I guess. And I like that it matches everything else in his line. It works. So going on the inside, I'm going to tell you there are no shade names on the inside. They are only on the back. So I don't know if that is a deal breaker for you, but I thought I would mention it just because sometimes everyone has their own preference of where they'd like the shade names to be. Let's talk about the powders. The mattes are beautiful. They blend themselves. It's what you would expect for a price tag palette like this. I think it's absolutely lovely. I think there are luxury brands that have, like for example, Pat McGrath. I'm not a fan of her mattes, and so to pay that much money for a palette, I'm usually going after the metallics, the sparkly shades, and the mattes just don't do it for me. In this case, the mattes are so smooth. They're very, like I said, they blend themselves. They're very soft in the sense that they just smooth themselves over the lid. It's really strange. It's almost like a blurring kind of effect. They just have a really nice formula and application, and they go on so nicely. I love that the shades, here's the thing. Yes, it is another neutral palette, but you can tell as soon as you open it, it's got that contour type of feel to it, which I think was one of the purposes of this palette, is to contour your eyes. You can add depth, you can add dimension, but you can still go really natural. And I see that with this. Like, it reminds me of his contour palettes, especially the creams. They really look like they could be a contour cream. So here's the thing about the creams is that they have a very thick formula, and so they are a little bit harder to spread on the eyes. I did not use them today just because it's not my favorite. I probably won't reach for them as much, but for the person who really likes to layer, it's going to be perfect for really acting like a primer, which I think was also part of his intent. It really is almost kind of like it's not sticky, but it's thick enough to where it's really going to grab hold of the powder that you place on top. And so for adding depth and dimension and for having it act as a primer, they're really good. So I don't think I will reach for them as often as some people, but it also has the little door, which, I mean, you're not gonna be holding your palette like this, but it swings open really easily. So the mattes, beautiful. The creams, they have their purpose. I probably won't use them. And then as far as the shades on this top row, there are a couple that remind me of Tati's formula to the T. Well, actually, one of them's on the bottom row. But they have like those sparkles in there, kind of like a Too Faced formula that if you blend too much, they can fall down. But if you use a tacky base, the sparkles stay. And they are very pretty, creamy type of shades that just look very natural, very daytime kind of thing. The other shades look very chunky in the pans. They look like they'd be super crumbly. They're actually not. Once you start dipping in, I go in with my finger, it all kind of blends together, and I don't find it to be chunky in the least. So it's weird because it looks a certain way in the pan, but once you start using it, once you start grabbing it, it kind of all smooths over. And they do have sparkle. You can tell they're very almost more metallic than I had anticipated, but I love that. So I do go in with a tacky base. You saw the Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer. I go in with that so that it can really grab hold, and I love the result. Now, here's the thing. Can you find a lot of this in other palettes? Absolutely. It's nothing out of the ordinary. He's just being a makeup artist and putting it all in a one-stop shop for you. He's putting the kind of contour shades that's the thing, you wouldn't really find a whole lot of contour shades in a lot of other neutral palettes. Yes, neutral shades, but as far as a one-stop shop for all of your depth contour shades, you don't find a lot of that. And that's where I say, I think that's probably where, you know, the price tag kind of plays in along with the packaging, is that this is meant to probably be more of a not a makeup artist type of palette, but kind of. So anyways, you have an intent on a certain look when using this eyeshadow palette. So all in all, I'm very glad I picked it up. Yes, the price tag hurts. So I wish it was a little bit less expensive. But I think overall, I am going to find quite a bit of use for it, especially because these formulas are so nice that it is literally effortless to put it on the lid. You can get a very beautiful look, and I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people, minus the price tag, in the sense that it is a palette that you can just, right now it's all about simple. People are going back to work, no longer working from home, and right now you kind of want that simple, I just want something very easy I can throw on and be gone, and I think this is that palette. So as for the teddy bear palette, here's the thing. I'm gonna go side by side so that you can really see the inside and see what's going down here. But quite frankly, that little door is just funny. Okay, so yes, upon first look, you're like, all right, maybe they're similar. And it's because they're neutral palettes. That's always gonna be the case where it's gonna look kind of similar. But once you start really looking more into it, swatching it, you'll find that they're really not similar at all. Obviously, this is definitely a straight up neutral palette. This one has got some pops. It's got the pink. It's got some variations that are not in here. So they are actually quite different. But yeah, the layout's kind of the same, that kind of thing. And I can see where my eyes just, my mind just thought that. My eyes went to that and I was like, oh, that looks, but no, not similar at all. But let me give you a quick rundown. Now, these two swatches are from the Teddy Bear palette. These two are from the Patrick Ta palette, and they're the ones that I found to be the most comparable, I guess you could say. So, you know, yeah, they're all in the neutral family, but they're different. I would say out of these two, this one's a little bit more peachy pink than this one, and then this one's definitely richer and deeper than this one right here. Same thing right here. We have got the Teddy Bear palette here, Patrick Ta right here. That's the sequin shade. And then a couple, what I thought would be the most comparable of the metallics, definitely not in the least. This is like a more champagne shade from the Patrick Ta. This is more gold from the Too Faced. And then lastly, right here, this is a sequin shade. I thought this was this. I don't know. I'm not even thinking straight anymore, but this is actually the residue from another. So this is the Teddy Bear palette. This is the Patrick Ta. That's going to be the most similar out of all of them. So there is a little comparison for you. I mean, ultimately, yeah, neutral versus neutral. And if you don't have to have all the variations, then you're fine. You know, it's kind of, again, yes, it's another neutral palette. I totally understand that. This is really more for the, I think probably for the collector, because of the price tag, because you're trying to add a little bit more to your collection, a few more variations, that kind of thing. So I do see a lot of collectors possibly picking this up. For the everyday consumer, it is a steep price tag, y'all, and I completely understand that. Yeah, I had to think twice about it myself, just because I was like, $3 more than Natasha Denona, my goodness. But anyways, those are my thoughts for whatever they are worth to you. Alrighty, my friends, thanks for hanging out with me today, spending some time talking about makeup. Before I let you go, just want to give you a very quick verse of the day. Today's comes from John 6:35, and it says, Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty. How beautiful is that? I love that verse so much. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I pray that you remember that I love you, but Jesus loves you so very much more. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe and stay well, friends. Bye.